First of all, you need to know that people generally ask 4 types of questions. They ask good questions, they ask difficult questions, they ask unnecessary questions, and they ask irrelevant questions. Now, out of all of the questions, good questions are the questions that you love these questions. They're good questions because you probably can answer them. They're within your area of expertise. You have the information. Very often, good questions are the result of things that you probably didn't say during the presentation, maybe because of time. You couldn't say everything, so the audience is asking about something that you researched. And if your notes, and if you have your paper and your notes and all the details of your research with you, and they ask you about a particular detail or a particular source or something like that, you have it right here, and you can say, that's a good question, let me check, and you can tell them the answer. So good questions. We love good questions. Also, good questions indicate that the audience is interested in what you had to say. They're showing further interest. In fact, we probably could say that any questions indicate the audience is interested. Does that mean if the audience has no questions that you were a flop, that you did not succeed? Not necessarily, because one of the things you can plan for is, based on how much time you have, you can try to anticipate the questions by answering them in your presentation. So maybe you've answered everybody's questions. But always, when people ask about wanting new information, wanting other information, and those are in the area of your topic, in the area of your knowledge, we'll consider those good questions. And it's very important with good questions to acknowledge them too, to say, that's a great question. Thank you, that's a wonderful question. That's a good point. You always want to reward the asker for good questions. Do you know why you need to say those words? You know why you should say that to the person who asked the question, the good question? You say, that's a great question, or thank you, that's a good question. You know why you should say that? There's another reason for it, not just thanking that person. It's part of that too. It's your consideration for the audience, but also it's also telling the rest of the audience, ask me more questions like that. I'll say thank you very much for that. In other words, you're signaling to the audience you like those kinds of questions. Okay. Difficult questions, well, those are the questions you don't know the answers to. Now, it's very understandable to be afraid of these questions, but it's based on an unreasonable fear. You think you have to answer the question. And you know what? You don't have to answer a question if you can't. If you simply can't answer it, you can't. Very often, difficult questions are about information that you do not have with you or that is outside of your range of knowledge. So you are not expected to answer questions that you can't possibly answer. And if it is something that you probably should know, it is also very acceptable to the asker and to the audience to say, you know, I don't have that information with me, but I will get it for you after the conference or after the presentation. And then, of course, you make sure you do that. But the idea is that don't be afraid of the question you can't answer. Unnecessary questions. Unnecessary questions are what they say, that they are things you probably already said in the presentation and somebody wasn't listening. So you are actually probably being asked to repeat something you've already said. With this kind of question, don't spend too much time with this. Be brief. Repeat the key point and then move on. And the irrelevant question, of course, is the question that has nothing at all to do with your presentation. Someone is going off on a different subject. And then for these types of questions, you don't really have to answer. You should not answer them at all. Just tell the asker, the questioner, I'm not quite sure how this connects to our research or to our topic or something like that.